Okay, so I'm just going to take up where I left off last week. And actually, I was trying to do something, and I figured out I was just making a very simple mistake. But I want to just finish off just one thing to do with walls, because you can actually it's a kind of a technique you can use for everything. So I'm going to start off by doing it on walls. If I go into this, well, not the stacked wall, let's go back into one of the simple walls, which is maybe this one. So this is the test wall we made last week, and I'm only going to talk about a couple of things today. So I should be finished talking about half an hour. So if you want to work on your project after that, I'll give you help with that. But I think I don't want to overload you with too much stuff, but hopefully this is starting to make sense in some kind of way. Anyway, so if I edit this wall, edit the structure, and press preview down the bottom here, so we can see a preview of the wall. And I'm going to change that preview to a section preview, so we can see the length of it. What I was trying to do last week was add a sweep, and a sweep being a projection out of the wall. So this is if you want to very simply add some modeling to the wall. So if I press sweep here, just to give you an idea, what I was trying to do last week was load a profile, which I hadn't actually sorted out correctly. But all you need to do is press add if you've got some profiles loaded into the drawing. So if you press add here, you can see that some profiles come up here. And one of them is just the basic sweep, 120 by 200. If I click that, and I can choose a type of material I want it to be. Let's say we want it to be brick. So I'm just going to click on the material. And we use the same material as the rest of the wall. Double click on brick. And then it's asking me what distance do I want it to be from the base of the wall. So I'm just going to say it's going to be 600 millimeters from the base of the wall on the exterior side. It's just a figure, it doesn't matter. And if I apply that, you can see that something turns up in the wall here. But because of the way the profile has been drawn, it's actually it's going into the wall. So we need to offset it by the width of it. So since we know it's 120 wide, according to this name of it here, we can change the offset to 120 and apply it. And then it's projecting out of the wall like this. So I press OK, and you can see that in the preview it's in the it's on the wall. And if I press OK now, and if I can just get that back on the screen because it's so big, press OK, it actually turns up on all of those types of walls. Okay, so now it's continuous on all those test walls everywhere we want it to be. But it's also if I make a stacked wall, for example, if I select this stacked wall here that we were talking about last week, edit the structure, and I'm going to change the bottom one to the new test wall structure. Test wall. You can see that the sweep is included in this as well. So press OK and apply and OK. So immediately we've got a very complex wall starting to take shape. Okay, so that's a very simple sweep. So all you need to know is how to control the shape of the sweep in the wall. For example, if you wanted to build one of those cornices on a classical Copenhagen city block there, you can actually draw that shape in 2 dimensions. And I'm going to switch my phone off, wait a second. And you can make it come into the wall. So I'm just going to show you how to do that, because this is something you can use over and over again to describe the shape of anything that runs along. So you can use it for banisters on stairwells, you can use it for anything that runs along the edge of the roof, or you can use it on anything that runs along the top of the roof, or anything you want. It's the same process. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Yeah?
Before you do that, can you do that one more time?
Yeah, sure. I'll just which one, the stacked wall bit or the overall?
No, the original.
The original one, okay. So I'll just put another one in. So I'm just going to select the wall type again, edit the type, edit the structure, and you have to make sure that the preview you're showing here is in section view. If it's in plan view, if you watch these 6 little buttons down here, if I change this back to floor plan, they grey out, so they're not usable. So if that's what you're getting, the issue is it has to be a sectional preview, so you can actually see the difference that you're making. So I'm just going to add another sweep. Actually, this time I'm going to add a reveal. And a reveal is just the opposite of a sweep. It takes a bite out of the wall. So I'm going to take a reveal. I'm going to add, and then I'm going to, let's take one brick course out of the wall, apply. Oh, we'll give it a distance. This time we'll give it a distance from the top. So I'm going to give it a distance of 900 from the top on the exterior side. Apply. Sweep positions outside of the wall. Okay, so it must be offset by a certain amount. So let's see if we flip it, if that's going to do something for us. Okay, it didn't seem to have turned up, but let's give it have a look at it. Sweep position is outside of the wall. Please select sweep parameters. Okay, so you kind of have to, let's try that again. You kind of have to be sure that it doesn't really help you if you haven't got your calculation correct. And I think what I did there, I didn't change it to base. Or let's try it again. Cancel this. Add a reveal. Add. Try a different. Try a block, for example, and we'll try it 200 on the top of the wall. See if that does anything. Could I create an internal instant sweep positions outside of the wall?
Can I ask something?
Yeah.
You put 900. What does it mean?
Yeah. Let's just do that again. I don't know why this isn't working, but let's just try it again. Okay. Preview. Cancel. Preview. Cancel. Okay. Now it's gone completely doolally. So let's cancel that all. Start again. First of all, I'll just show you what a sweep is, because what I'm showing you to start with is sweeps that go into all the walls of the same type. But a sweep can also be added to an individual wall just by using the wall tab up here. So I can go down and say sweep, and I can just select the wall and the position of it, and it doesn't want to do it there either. What's going on? This is weird. Now it's doing it, but I don't know why it's acting so strange. Huh?
But I mean, then you can select the height and so on.
Yeah. If you do it like this, where you just use the wall tool, you can select it afterwards. You can delete it, or you can change the position of it to whatever you want it to be. But what I don't understand is it doesn't seem to be actually taking. Let's try wall reveal. There it is. Okay. Now we got something going on. So that's what a reveal is.
Yeah.
Is a bite out of the wall like that. Now let's just go back, and we can go back and delete these. And delete those. But we can't delete these ones here because they're integral to the wall. So let's just see if I can come back and try that again. Edit the type. Edit the structure. Give it a preview. And we want to make a reveal. Add. Let's try and make this one. And let's just try it from the bottom for the moment and see what that does. And now it's turning up. It must have been something to do with the specific profile. But you can see that it's popped into the wall now here. If I press OK and OK, you can see that these reveals are now in all the walls that have the same name, and they also turn up in the stacked walls that have that wall integral to them. Okay. So just to keep that theme going, I'm going to show you how to make a sweep that's just a customized shape. Okay. So this is where we start to get into families. Now we're not going to talk about families a lot in the first semester, but you do need to know a little bit about them. So I'm just going to show you how to create a profile family to start off with, and that profile can then be used anywhere in your building where you have like a continuous running object. So the way to do that is, first of all, we need to make the profile. So I'm going to go into the Revit button at the top. I'm going to press new, but instead of saying project, I'm going to say family. So new family. And this is where your options might look different to mine depending on your computer and your installation. you have some family templates set up, I hope. If you don't, this is going to be a painful experience, but anyway, we'll have to find them. But you should have Dan.edu templates, and if I go back again, you should also have English templates, which are much more. And I'm going to use the English templates because that's where the profile template is. So I'm just going to go down and find something that's called metric profile. Now these are all profiles that have been set up in order to make all these type of objects. So they're like they're little templates set up to make these type of objects that you can make yourself. So, but at the moment we're only going to talk about a metric profile in its basic form. Not a hosted one, not a mullion, not a rail or a reveal, just a basic metric profile, because that can be used for everything. So I'm just going to double click on that. And that opens up this family editing area. And if you look at the top here, you can see that the menu options are different. It says family 1, and it's got different drawing options at the top here, because you're not dealing with a building at the moment, you're just dealing with a very specific thing. So all we need to do is select a line. So I'm going to select a line up here. And I'm going to use the central point between these two crosshairs. And the reason for that is when we insert this into the building, it's going to be inserted at exactly this point here. So whatever you draw here, you need to worry about where the insertion point is going to be in the building. So I'm just going to draw something that looks more or less like one of those nice cornices out there. And I'm just going to do it very quickly just as an example, but of course you can spend your time doing this. Let's put a curve in there. Make it very nice. Let's do something like that. Go back and have a line.
That you can use for the windows.
Yeah, I'm going to use this. You can use it for anything, but at the moment I'm just going to use it for that wall. So that kind of looks like one of those plaster cornices that's running around the building out there. I'm just going to let's make it a little bit smaller. So I'm going to select all those lines, and then I'm just going to move them up with the arrow keys. And maybe select this line and use the arrow key to move it across. And actually, I think I'll just make the whole thing a little bit narrower. So let's just bring it in like this so it's not too crazy. And what I'm doing here is I'm selecting from left to right. If I select from left to right, you can see it only selects the elements that are completely inside the selection window. If I select from right to left, it selects everything. So selecting from left to right is actually quite useful, because if you only want to select these elements here, you just make sure you make your window so you're not completely enclosing those elements that you don't want to select. So then I'm going to move this across, and let's say that we want our profile to be something like that. A little bit smaller here. Might as well make it look nice while we're at it. So it kind of looks like a classical European profile. So I'm going to save that on my desktop. I'm going to save as family. Going to just put it on my desktop, and I'm just going to call it molding, but you can call it whatever you want. So once I've given it a name, I can load it into the project just by pressing load into project, and now it should be in the project, so we should be able to use it anywhere where you can use a profile. So let's go back and let's see if this works. So I'm going to select this wall again. I'm going to edit the type, same process as last time, edit the structure. And I'm going to add a sweep, and let's see if we say add sweep, hopefully the molding, and there it is, has turned up. So because we used a profile template to make this shape, it turns up under the profile heading. So now we can give it a different material. So let's make it let's just make it some kind of plaster. There we go, plaster. And we're going to make it 0 from the top. And we want it on the external side, and then if we apply, you can see it pops up here in the wall. Press OK, OK, and OK, and now we've got some nice moldings running along our the outside of our house. We're making a classical house at the moment, so that turns up everywhere we have that wall. So if we have a stacked wall, and let's just while we're here draw a stacked wall that we have made. If I just draw that like this, I can quickly draw an entire house with all the elements already set into it. Everybody with me? Kind of. Almost there. Will I pause that for a second? Okay. So now we've got what looks like a house and a gymnasium, a classical gymnasium. So if I go into the elevation view, you can see that it's drawn very finely, and that's at 1 to 100. So if I even switch the shadows on here, you can see that you can quickly make a very nice architectural drawing without having to worry too much about the coloring it and so on. Okay. Let's have a look at the other side. Yeah, so it's also on this. Change the settings down here. So switch on the shadows and then switch on the shading. Okay. So now what I really want to talk about today, if I go back to stopping to take care of my mistakes from last week, what I want to talk about today is roofs and floors. Now roofs and floors, we talked about it a bit at the beginning, but we'll just go into it in a little bit more detail, and it isn't any much more complicated at this stage than what we already talked about in the intro period. And of course everybody's examined that and studied that and has internalized it and knows how to do that, don't they? Yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's do a little bit more detail about it then. So the first thing we do, just to do a little bit of a recap and go through it again, is create a roof by specifying the footprint and adjusting properties. So I'll do that very quickly, but first of all I'm going to delete this gymnasium. Goodbye. And I'm going to delete this test wall we did from last. Oh, it's kind of a nice wall, isn't it? So let's just delete it anyway. So we have something like this. An extremely ugly house. I need to delete this too. Okay, so let's get rid of the roof that we made last time, and we'll just go through again how we make the roof, and then I'm going to go through some more slightly more complex things you can do with the roof. So if we go into the elevation view, we can see that we already have a ground floor plan, a first floor plan, and a roof plan set up. So I'm going to go into the roof plan, and because we have the underlay switched on over here, underlay, you can see is set to first floor plan. We can see what's happening on the first floor plan. Again, if we switch that off, we can't see anything. But it's a good idea when you're drawing a roof that you can actually see the walls underneath. So let's switch on the first floor plan again so we can see it. So now we go into roof, and the first thing we're going to do is roof by footprint. And I'm just going to, last time around we selected the lines. We can do that. We can just go and select the lines that we want for the edges of the roof, or we can use the line tool just to draw the lines that we want. And again, just to reiterate, these little angle triangles here, this means there's a slope shooting up from each one of these sides of the roof. So if I accept this roof, the shape of the roof is, let's just put on WT and just switch off things we don't need. WT. So the shape of the roof is like that, which is pretty crude, roof shape. So we want to go back and change the slope. So let's just do it one at a time, just to go through it quickly. Edit the footprint, and the first thing I'm going to do is switch the slope off here. If I switch it off here and accept it, you can see that now straight away we've got a straight gable to the front here. If we continue with that, go back in, select it, edit the footprint. Let's switch off this one. Go back in and accept it. Now we've got a weird looking roof. It goes like that. So you could actually have this wall continuing up. So you got something like, I don't know why you would do a roof like that, but you have the option to do it anyway. But Let's go back in again and change it so it starts to look a little bit more, a little bit smarter. And I'm going to switch off slope for this side and the slope for this side. So then we're back to the more standard roof type that we had before. So that's like a standard roof, and you can probably do, if you're doing developer-led housing or anything that's pretty standard and cheap to build, where all the pieces are coming from a factory and so on, you probably don't need to do anything more complicated than this type of roof as at the design stage. It's the simplest type of roof, and it's the one that's most used, and therefore there's you can buy pretty much parts straight from the factory to make a roof like that. So then I'm just going to get all the walls. If I set my cursor over one of the walls and press tab, it highlights all the walls. Then if I click, they've all been selected, and now I just press attach top base, select the roof, and all the walls attach to the roof. Now that's just a repeat of what we did in the first week. So let's just edit the footprint again, and let's say we want to give it a bit of an overhang. So I'm going to just very simply move, and you can use this. You can either use the move tool, moving it in and out, or you can select it and use the move button up here, which gives you a chance to actually select and then type in, let's say 600, an overhang for the side of the roof. So let's just do it. Select them at once, holding down Control. Use move. Select start point, 600, and we'll give the two sides, I think we'll just offset that by 4. No, let's offset that by 300, and move that by 300. So then if we accept it, the roof's been given some kind of an overhang at the sides. Okay. Now, so that's still a basic roof. If I turn on the realistic view, it's just gray. So we can select it, and you can see exactly the same as when you're dealing with walls. You have basic roof, and then you have some options for different types of roof in here. So I can press this and say, well, I'm going to change it to a tile roof with timber, and you get something like that. Or I can select it again, edit the type, and exactly the same way as editing the walls, I can duplicate it and call it test roof. Okay, and then we can edit the structure, and you can see that it can be edited in exactly the same way as the wall can be edited. So you can add any number of layers you want and add in insulation and all that kind of stuff till you get something. But I'm not going to go into that because it's exactly the same process as doing the wall, so we already went through that. There are less options here in the roof than there are on walls. We don't have any of those sweeps or reveals or anything to do with the molding of the roof, because a roof is generally just one slope, and that's all you have to deal with. So I'm just going to OK that and OK that. So it is a roof, but you can see that the ends of the roof look kind of unfinished. They look like they're sliced off. So there are things we can do to change that. So under the roof tab up here, if I press the down arrow, we have a roof soffit, a roof fascia, and a roof gutter. And these basically are methods for modeling anything on the edges of the roof. So if I press here roof fascia, for example, I get this option over here, a fascia 25 by 250 millimeters. And if I press or select an element of the roof here, you can see that it actually places what looks like a piece of wood on the edge of the roof. And then I get these two control options here. So I can actually click on this and flip it down so that it looks something like that. And if you go around and you look at roof edges generally, they're usually designed in such a way that the thickness of the roof is scaled down when you get to the edge, because nobody actually wants to see the entire thickness of a roof, because nowadays they've got to like 450 up to 600 millimeters thick. If that came out of a house, it would just look so grim and ugly that nobody would want to see it. So usually at the edge, there's a certain amount of modeling that goes on, and people try and take the scale of the edges down, of the roof edges down as much as they can. I don't know if you looked at that in your, I wish I'd been at your exam, then I could see what you got up to. But anyway, so if I just delete that now, I'm going to do them all at once. So I'm going to say roof, fascia. I'm going to hold down the control key, and this is important that it's okay if it goes in the wrong way like this, because we want to flip them all at the same time when we're finished. But we can actually go and select all the edges at the same time and then flip them like that. So we get something along the edge of the roof like this. Once we've done that, we can go back in and edit it, and we can change the material to whatever we want. So we can just turn it into I don't know. Let's just try. Have they got any paint options in here? Damp-proofing? No. Anyway, let's just try wood for the sake of it, and clapboard siding. Now that doesn't exactly work, but you can see what I mean. You can add in a painted wood material, or you can modify a painted wood material. Let's take that away because that looks terrible. Edit type, clapboard, and I'm just going to see what we have in the library. Wood, or let's just make it a plastic one. Let's pretend it's a standard crappy house that's been built in the landscape somewhere. Just go okay, okay. So now we got a white plastic fascia on the roof. Okay, so you can see that straight away it starts to give you a little bit more quality in how the edge of the roof is defined. Again, because we've been talking about making profiles, we could change the profile of this. We could actually make this any shape we wanted to. So for example, if I select this and edit the type, I can come up here and I can change the profile to maybe the molding that we made. Let's see if that works actually. That might crash it, but anyway, let's have a look. So now you can see that we've got the molding that we made is set around the roof. That's probably not a good idea, so let's undo that. But you can design a profile based on whatever you want to put on the edge of the roof is what I'm trying to get at. So, and it's just the same process again, just going into new, family, English, and let's go to metric profile, and then you just draw the profile in exactly the same way, and then you can just add it to the edge of the roof. Okay. Similarly, we have a gutter. So if I go into roof, gutter, I can select where I want to put a gutter on the roof, like this. And this has a different command button, but it is actually exactly the same command as the fascia. All it is a different profile. So once again, if I select this gutter and edit it, I can change the profile to molding again if we wanted to, or whatever gutter shape you want to make. So you can see how the profile is actually quite important. So learning how to make a profile gives you complete control over all these small edges and things in your roof or in any part of the building. Once we put the gutter in, let's just draw a cross section through this. Going to view, section, save the project. I'm going to draw a cross section through here, and then I can go into the section view, and let's turn up the scale to 1:50 so we can kind of see what's going on. And again, we can also switch off the pen thicknesses, the printing thicknesses, by pressing this thin lines button up here, so we can actually see how these profiles are created. So I can then select the profile we've put in there, the gutter, and I've just closed that down, but we can actually change the offset to whatever we want. So I can move it down by -100. Let's see how that works. So it goes down by -100. So you can quickly put it in the correct position. Again, we can do the same thing with the fascia. So let's put that down by minus 75, for example. Whoops. And sometimes you figure out that depending on which way the profile is made, you see the way that flipped, it went the opposite direction. So we need to actually change that around and change it to plus 75, so it goes down to the right position, like that. Okay? If I select this again, and if I edit the type, let's just see what other options do we have in there. We have gutter, slightly larger gutter. If I press OK, you can see that it's changed in size. But again, it's just a profile, so you can go and make a new profile and add it to your gutter, so it can be any shape that you want it to be. Okay. Now, that's pretty much everything to do with roof by footprint. It's just a question of playing with it and getting comfortable with it. So the next thing, and I'm nearly finished now, I'm not going to give you too much stuff to absorb today, but the next thing I want to talk about is roof by profile, because often you get a project where the roof is a crazy shape for some reason, but it's only a crazy shape in one direction. So you just need to make a shape exactly like a profile and then just send it off into the distance, into wherever you want to put it. So I'm just going to quickly make a little house over here by selecting wall and drawing a rectangle. Wow, look at that. Looks great. Who wouldn't want to live there? Okay, so now let's say we want to make a crazy shape on top of this. We can go into the elevation, and let's say we want to make a shape up here. Let's see if we can do this. So roof by extrusion, and if I just leave that over here, you can see this is exactly what I mean. You draw the shape and then it just makes it for you. So roof by extrusion, pick a plane. It's asking where do we want to start drawing it. So I'm just going to pick the side of the wall here. So I'm going to say OK. So I'm just going to pick here, and it's asking us what level do we want to put it on. So we say roof plan and say OK. And now we get our little drawing tools, and we can start to draw some kind of shape. And we can also use the spline tool if we want to make it a little bit more, something like that. I don't know why you'd make a roof like that, but this is, if you ever need to, you've got some really bad architect who needs you to build a building for him, then this is how you do it. Put it in place, and you can do this very exact. So you can measure the exact distance where I'm putting these all these elements and so on. But I'm just drawing it here as an option. So once I finish that, I just press accept, and it's created some kind of a shape. If I go into the 3D view, see there it is there. And I've obviously chosen to start drawing it at the wrong end of the building, but anyway, never mind. What you can do is you can select it afterwards, and you can just basically stretch it as far as you want it to go until it's in the right position. And when you've done that, press tab, select all the walls, attach top base, and then the walls will attach to it, and suddenly you've got a building. And you can change that basic roof into any of the other roof types that you want, if you're happy with that. So it has all the right layers of insulation and structure and so on in there. That was pretty funky, wasn't it? Now let's see, can we also stick the components and stuff on this? Hopefully we can. Let's say if we can stick a gutter on the edge here. Yeah, we can. Alright. Alright. So now we've got a house and a shed, complex shed. So let's just have a look at my list. Okay, I'm just going to do one more thing. This is pretty much what I was going to do, but I'm just going to add one more thing while we're at it, because I think this is actually quite useful. If you want to make a flat roof, there's no such thing as a completely flat roof. There's always a slight a slight slope in it. So let's say I want to make a roof here. I'm just going to do it in 3D, so it's simple enough. So if I say roof by footprint, I'm going to put it on the ground floor plan. Yes. I'm just going to make a rectangular roof here, and I'm going to press tab, select, and switch off all the slope defining things so it's completely flat, and then I accept it. So we've got a completely flat slab here. Now I'm going to select it and change it to, let's call it an asphalt roof. So warm roofing asphalt concrete. Looks exactly the same, but we've changed the structure of it. So what I can do is select the roof, edit the type, edit the structure, give it a preview. We can see what's in there. And let's say I want to give it a slope. I want to have a slope. And what usually happens in the construction industry, if you have a flat roof and you want to give it a slope, you actually use sloped insulation. So your insulation is what provides the slope to the roof. So we can easily do this in Revit just by saying, well, on the insulation layer, I'm going to make it variable. So it doesn't always stick to 190 millimeters thick. So I'm just going to vary it. If I select them all, they'd all become variable and the whole roof would become deformed. But I'm only selecting one of them. So if I press OK then, and OK, now I can select the roof and I can add points or split lines or pick supports. We won't worry about that at the moment. So I'm going to say add points, and I can actually say, well, I'm going to put a point more or less in the middle of the roof here, exactly like when we were making a topography. I can select that point and I can actually type how high I want it to be. So I've just set it to 200. But let's set it to 150 above the existing level. So now if I spin around a little bit, you can see that there's a slight, well, let's just draw a section through it. That'd be an easier way to do it, wouldn't it? Ground floor plan. I'm going to draw a section, view, section, like this. Section 2. Now we can see the house in the background. So what we can actually do is turn on the far clipping for the view element here to take out all that information in the background that we don't want to see. So I'm just going to do that. Don't worry about this for the moment. Just going to say clip without line, and we're going to say far clip offset, and we just set it to about 10 meters. So what I've done is I've actually clipped out the background of the section there. So now we can see what we're talking about. And you can see that in here, the roof has become varied, but it's only the insulation layer that's variable. And we can adjust that in here by using the tab button, selecting, and we can change it to 300 if we wanted to. So you can modify the slope of the roof within a specific layer as well as on the overall thing. And that's really useful when you're drawing large roof plans. Everybody with me? Sleepy heads. Okay, that's pretty much it. There's just one more thing that I want to do on the roof edge element of it, and that's just to talk about these cut profiles. So when you draw a roof initially, you get a profile which is straight up and down, and that's called a plumb cut rafter. But we can change that quickly over here. We change it to a two-cut plumb, for example, which means we can modify the fascia depth. If I apply that, you can see that. For one second, let's delete this out of the way first of all. You can see that the shape of the roof is changed, and we also have the option for a two-cut square, which takes the line of the bottom end of the roof to be perpendicular. That's all I want to say about that. It just gives you a little bit more modeling at the edge of the roof. Okay? That's it. Any questions?